Hi there, Mr. Holcomb here with another episode of The Math Behind the Modules. Okay, this is chapter 111-3. I was on the wrong page. Sorry about that. Chapter 11-3, charting a budget. Any sensible family has a budget that lays out how much will be spent for household and other purposes. Without such planning, things would quickly go awry, as quoted by Walter Albright, politician. Okay. So anyway, we need a budget. And so here we go. Objectives: create and use a budget checkoff chart. And we're going to visualize and interpret a budget using different types of graphs. They're calling circle graphs. What they mean by a circle graph is a pie chart. You've seen pie charts, you've used pie charts, and we're going to get into those. So we're going to have some key terms: budget chart, budget checkoff chart, circle graph, pie chart, line graph, bar graph, budget line graph, sectors, and central angles. So I'm going to skip this and I'm going to continue on. So here is a sample of a checkoff chart, okay? Budget checkoff chart. So here's a budget checkoff chart. You have health insurance in March, June, September, December, you check them off, and so on and so on. Sample B down here is actually putting values in. That is a budget chart with numbers. Budget checkoff chart, budget chart. Circle graphs are pie charts like this, line graphs, and these are right here, bar graphs. And we're going to do all of these in this lesson. So let's jump right into it now. Here is example 1. We are going to use a spreadsheet. So I'm going to explain, hopefully you already know, but if you don't, some don't use spreadsheets at all. This is a great way to learn some of the basics of, I'm going to use Google Sheet. So if you use Google, great. If you use Excel, some of the commands will be a little bit different. I'm also going to have the spreadsheet open, so I won't be able to see this and my spreadsheet at the same time. So example 1 says to create a year-long budget. Okay, so I'm going to have this on my second screen as well over here. Create a year-long budget checkoff chart that keeps track of the following household expenses when they are due: mortgage, utilities, and their frequency, monthly, quarterly, semi-annually, etc., etc. I will read these to you and then I'll put them in the spreadsheet as we go. Okay. All right. So here we go. I'm going to open an Excel spreadsheet by going to Google Drive, which is where I am right here. And you click on New Google Sheet. Okay. And that will load a new Google Sheet. So here we are. So what I would do, just to get a hang of what we can do in these, is I'm going to right click on sheet 1 and I'm going to rename it, right click and then rename it example 1. Okay, so there it is now called example 1. So I want to create a year-long budget checkoff chart. So I'm not going to put anything in my first corner here, but down here, I'm going to put all the categories. So let's start with that. And the first one was mortgage. So just bear with me here as I type these in, or follow along if you can. Mortgage, enter, push, enter brings it down to the next cell in the column. After mortgage, it is utilities. After utilities, sanitation, insurance, internet, land, line, cell phone, lawn/garden, snow removal, food, childcare, and veterinarian. Okay, so those are our categories. Across the top, I'm going to put the months. Now watch what I'm going to do. JAN tab moves us across a row. FEB tab. But now I don't want to type all of those in. I'm going to click on B1, which is January, click and drag over to C1, which is February. And now they're both highlighted and there's a blue box in the corner. March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. And it copies it over for you just like so. Now I don't want this all spread out, so I'm going to click on this corner here between A and 1 up in this corner, and everything is highlighted. And then all you have to do is go to the top of any one of these two in between B and C. Notice how my cursor changes to double arrows, and I'm going to double click, and it fits the cell to that input that's in that cell. Okay, so now that just makes it nice and clean. Okay, so now I'm going to go up and I'm going to look, and it says mortgage is monthly. Well, I want to do a check off. So I'm going to click in mortgage Jan, click and drag down. So I'm selecting all of my cells from January to December, all of my expenses, or all my categories. And so this is all blue. And then I'm going to go up to insert. I click insert, and I'm going to insert a checkbox. I click checkbox, and there are my check boxes for all the categories. Now, mortgage is monthly, so I'm just going to sit here and click all of these. Because it's monthly, it's every month, those all get a check. Utilities is monthly. Now, what I was wondering is can I hit shift and choose the whole thing and then click in, and that does not work for some reason. So I don't know, there might be a way to enter a whole group of these as checked at the same time. I have not found that. Okay, so sanitation is quarterly. That's every 3 months, January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. Quarterly, 4 times a year. Insurance, semi-annually. Now, don't confuse semi-annually with biannually or bi-monthly, semi-monthly, okay? Semi-annually, actually biannually, semi-annually. Okay, semi-annually is twice a year, and so that'll be June and December. Internet is every month, so I'm going to do this. Let me see if this will do it. It does, that's how you do it. Okay, landline is every month. So landline is monthly. So click in that, click on this little blue corner, drag it across, and boom. Oh, that's nice. Okay, I just learned something making this video. Cell phone is monthly. Click and drag. Wonderful. Lawn and garden monthly, April through September. Click on April. May, June, July, August, September. Oh, I like it. And snow removal monthly, December, January, February, and March only. Food, obviously, we eat every month. Okay. Child care, they said, is every other month beginning with February, April, June, August, October, December, and the vet is semi-annually, twice a year, June, December. Okay, so there it is. There is our year-long budget checkoff chart, example 1. Okay, example 2. It says Jeff budgets his monthly expenses as follows. Household 40%, education 25%, and so on and so on. He uses a software program to construct a pie chart to show his expense percentages. How did this category percentages affect his construction of the chart? How did his category percentages affect the construction of the chart? Okay, so we are going to create this in our Excel spreadsheet. So here we go. I'm going to go back to Excel. I'm going to hit the plus sign down here to add a sheet. Click plus, and it says sheet 2. I'm going to rename that example 2. Okie dokie. All right, so now I want to create this pie chart. So we have a category. I'll put that here. Category. And one of my students taught me this today. If you want that bold, you click in here and you hit Control B. Underline it, Control U. Italicize, Control I. Oh, I don't want it italicized. There we go. Category. Okie dokie. So here are the categories. It's household, education, transportation, health, savings, miscellaneous. And again, I want to make that fit. Double click when there's double arrows. Okay. All right, so household. Now I'm going to put 40 here, 25 here, 15 here, 5, 10, and 5. These were the values they gave us. They said household was 40%, education 25, and so on. These are just numbers. So I am now going to select all of these cells, click on this percent here, and it converts to percentage. So then I want to go back. Actually, if I did the percent first, it'd be better. So let me do that now. Let me do 40, 25, 15, 5, 10, 5. We want to change it to percent first because it multiplied that and moved everything by 100. So it made that 4,000%, not 400 or 40%. We don't want more than 100%. That's a full pie. Okay, so there are our percentages. So I'll say that. I will change that to Control B, Control U, and I like centering as well. So I just like making my spreadsheet look good. Center, and we are done. That center is right here, left, right, center. Okay, so there it is, household and percentages. Now I want to create a pie chart. I'm going to click on A1 down to B7, highlight all of my data, go up to insert, click on chart, and it will create a chart. And there is my pie chart right here. Let me move that over here and click there. There is my pie chart. And if you compare it to the book, they're identical, just different colors. The size of each piece is the same, and it's all categorized nicely, and there is our pie chart. So it says, how did his category percentages affect the construction of the chart? Well, the percentage of each piece is a percentage of an entire pie, and there's 360 degrees in a pie. So we need to know the measure of a central angle. So I'll just put central angle. It's actually the measure of, and I will center. I will Control B, Control U, central angle. All right, so here we go. Here's how we can formulate this. We know that it's 40% of 360 degrees. So I'm going to put an equal sign here. And there's this little sideways bracket here telling us we need some information. Equals what? Well, I want to take my cell B, which is 40%, and multiply it by 360. I want 40% of 360, and I hit enter. It's going to say, well, that's 144 degrees. So this blue angle right here is 144 degrees. And it says suggested autofill. And I want it to do that for the whole column. So I'm going to hit the check mark. So these are all the degrees used to make this pie. So the education is this red one, and it is a right angle. It is 90 degrees. Transportation is this yellow one. This angle, central angle, is 54 degrees. And each one of these pieces is called a sector. Okay, so that was one of the definitions in this chapter. So this is a pie broken up into different sectors with different central angles. Enough said about that. So there we go. Now, one other thing I wanted to do, I'm going to highlight these bottom two here. I'm going to go up and I'm going to put a border just at the top so it looks like an equal sign. It breaks it. And I'm going to now take the sum of each column. So I'm going to take this and drag it down. So I'm taking the sum of B2 through B7, and that is 100%. And then I can click on that 100%, drag it over, and sure enough, it's 100% of the circle is 360 degrees. Now, the problem with this, though, is it now added those two things to my pie chart, and it threw it all off. So I'm going to delete this, click household, drag down to here, not including this. I guess it auto defaults that if you add another column or row, it's going to add that to your chart. So now I'm just going to go back to insert chart and go over here and switch it to pie. And there is our pie chart back the way it was originally with our totals, 100% and 360 degree central angle. Okay. Okay, example 3 says Kate and Paul budget $800 per month for transportation related expenses, as shown in the pie chart. What information can you conclude from the pie chart? So if I look over here at this, I see that this fuel looks like it's about a 90-degree angle. So I'd say 25% of their $800 goes to fuel, and a quarter of 800 is $200. So I know their fuel is about $200 a month. Okay. The other thing I can gather is that insurance looks like about 45 degrees, or half of 90 approximately. So insurance should be about half of the fuel, or about $100 a month. Okay. By looking at this, I can see that they spent the least amount on car washing, and repairs and parking were about the same, and miscellaneous was a little less. Bus transportation and insurance was almost the same, where train bus was a little more, so a little over $100 there. And there's a list of things that we can see all kinds of different things from these charts. So it says here, Kate and Paul spent the majority of their transportation budget on fuel. That is true, and it's about 25%, so it's about $200, which we have already stated. Repairs and parking appear to have similar amounts, which I've already also stated. Repairs and parking. Train and bus costs account for the second highest budget amount. Okay. And they spend the least amount on car washes, which has been stated. The amount budgeted for repairs appears to be about half the amount budgeted for fuel. So repairs is about half of fuel. So maybe $100 in repairs a month. Miscellaneous expenses appear to be half of the budgeted for train and bus costs. So those are different things we can gather from that. And you could also say what would happen if we use more train bus, that would increase. And what would we use less if we took the train or bus? Well, we would use less parking. We would use less repairs on our car because it'd sit in the garage longer or more. We wouldn't have to wash it as much if it's in the garage. And we would use less fuel if we took the train or bus. So with this category increasing, fuel, repairs, and parking would decrease, and car washes possibly as well. The only thing that would be a constant would be insurance. Insurance is not determined by how many miles you drive. It is just determined by an average, and your insurance premiums do not change month to month, regardless, depending on how much you travel. So if the car sits in the garage, you're still paying the same insurance as if you're using it. So that category would not change if train bus increased. Those are the kinds of things you can look at in a pie chart. Okay, example 4, moving right along, construct a bar graph using the information about healthcare costs from sample B. So again, let me just highlight that, construct a bar graph. Okay, so I'm going to switch to my spreadsheet and I'm going to enter this data into the spreadsheet. So let's go back to our spreadsheet. There was no example 2, so I will add and I'll rename this example 4. Okay, so here's our new sheet. Okay, our new tab for example 4. And I'm going to right here type sample B. That's the information we're using. And I'm going to control bold that, control underline and center. Okay. And then we're doing the months. So it's Jan, Feb. Only have to do the first 2, copy by doing so, and out to December. And then click on this corner and double click the double bars. There we go. Okay. Moving along. Once I've done this, I go a little bit faster. And I made that bold up there. And now I got to put my categories here. So the first one is health insurance. Second one, prescriptions. Third one, over the counter meds. Doctor visits. Life insurance and health club dues. Okay, and double bar, double tap. There we go. Okay, so health insurance, prescriptions, blah blah blah. So here we go. Okay, so now I'm going to enter the data. So for health insurance in March, it was $450. This just comes from the book. June was 450. September was 450. So this is quarterly, and December was 450. Prescriptions were 90 every other month, starting in February. Whoops. I could leave that 0, but I don't want to. 90 space 90 space 90 space 90 do 90 do. Done. All right. Over the counter was 30. And they weren't all 30, but I'm just going to do this real quick. But these are all 30. And I'm going to change April through September were 50. These are just quick shortcuts you can do. So I want April through September to be equal to 50. So I just did this, so I didn't have to type 30, 30, 30, 50, 50, 50, 50. You learn these little shortcuts when you're using spreadsheets. Okay, doctor's visits, January, $200, and July, $200. All right, so that's semi-monthly. All right, and life insurance is $300 in April, $300 in April, and $300 in August, and $300 in December. So 3 times a year. See, quarterly is 4 times a year, 3 times a year. Is that quarterly, thirdly? Anyway, 3 times a year. September health club dues come in of $600. Okay, so there is all of our data from the book. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to draw a line here. So I'm going to select all of these rows underneath January through December. I'm going to put a top border on that cell, those cells, to make it look like a equal sign. And I'm going to take the sum of these columns. So I'm going to click here. I'm going to come over here to sum, click on sum. And now it's asking the sum of what? Well, it's going to be the sum of B2 through B7, and hit enter. So 30 plus 200 is 230. Then I can click on that rule, my formula, and drag it over. And just like that, we have all of our sums done. Okay. That's the nice thing about spreadsheets. It does a lot of work quickly. Okay, so I don't care about my values that I got my totals from when I go to graph. So now I'm going to show you how to hide rows. So click on the 2, drag down to 7, and select all those rows. You right click anywhere in there, and you click hide rows 2 through 7. Now all I have are January through December and the totals. This asked us to create a what? A bar graph. So I'm going to click on January, drag to December, and include the totals. And there are my values I'm going to use. Insert chart. And there it is. Now, if it did not come up automatically a bar graph for you, let me move me out of the way. You could click here and change your graphs. Okay, so there it is. Let me just move this up here. So there is our bar graph for the data. So once you graph something, you can really see really quickly, wow, I spent a lot of money in September or in December, and May and November were very inexpensive for me when it comes to healthcare. And you see that really quickly. Okay, you can see a maximum real quickly right here, and you can see the minimum real quickly. And you can kind of estimate where your average might be. But a spreadsheet will also do that for you too. So I'm going to type the word average monthly cost. And right here, I'm going to put the average. To do the average of these, you just simply come over to functions, which is the sigma, capital sigma. Click on average. Average of what? B8 through M8. Enter. And it is $393.33. Okay. So very quickly, we can find the average cost per month. So if you were budgeting, these first 2 months are lower. So if you put $393 away, these first 2 months, it would cover these overages. And then that way you would only have to pay the same amount every month. So you aren't getting pounded with $1,100 in September. You already have it saved. And that's what this helps you do. Okay, so there's example 4. Okay, example 5 says, over the last few months, Kate has spent more than her budgeted amount for her cell phone bill. She decided to track her daily call usage in minutes to see if she should change plans. She went online to her cell phone account and got the usage data below for the last 3 weeks. Construct a multiple line graph to identify any of Kate's usage trends. So we want a multiple line graph. So let me highlight that. Okay, construct a multiple line graph. All right, so that's what we're going to do in this exercise. So I'm going to go back to my spreadsheet. I'm going to call it example, add a new sheet or a tab, rename it example 5. Okay. I'm then going to go up here and I'm going to leave A1 blank, and down on A2, I'm going to start with Monday, Tuesday, and I just want Monday through Sunday, 1 week. Okay, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Across the top, we're doing 3 weeks. Week 1, week 2, and week 3. So I can highlight all these at once and say Control B, and highlight all these all at once and say Control B and underline. And then I can shorten them up so that they all fit nicely. There we go. And now I'm just going to enter the data that is in our book. I'm just entering this into our spreadsheet, and then it does all the work for us. So I'm going to enter those now. 18, 17, 12, 19, 24, 35, and 30. That's week 1. Week 2 is 10, 19, 15, 20, 29, 24, 22. Okay. And finally, week 3, 13, 12, 18, 23, 40, 30, 27. Okay. So all I did was copy this to here. Same thing. We want a multi-line graph. So I'm going to click up here, drag down, select all of my data, insert, chart. It's not what I want. I go here and I want a line graph, line chart. Click on that. And there is our data, nicely graphed. And just glancing at this, looking at a bunch of numbers tells us absolutely nothing without putting a lot of thought into it. Looking at a picture, it just jumps out at you. Peak, peak, peak. Friday and Saturday, she really does a lot more texting. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, very little. Starts to increase throughout the week. Friday, Saturday, a bunch of texting. Sunday, a little bit less. So that's the first thing I saw from that. And week 1 was low, but then it was a higher weekend. Week 2, the red one, was the middle of the road, but then it dropped off on the weekend for some reason. And then week 3 was the lowest until we got to Wednesday. Then it was the highest, and then the weekends it dropped down again. Okay, so those are the different things we can see when we make this. But when making it by hand, we have to look at a maximum. We have to find the maximum, Friday 40, and we have to create our table using those values. Okay, using a spreadsheet, the computer does it automatically for us, and it is very quick, easy, and professional looking. All right, example 6. Beth is a coffee lover, but she doesn't love money. She's throwing it away. In her budget, Beth has a category for coffee. She has budgeted $90 per month, people. Do you know what 90 times 12 is? It's 108. 100, 108, 1,080. She spends over $1,000 a year on coffee. Hello, McFly. Buy a coffee maker, make it at home. Beth has a category for coffee. She has budgeted $90 per month to spend on the coffee she buys in 2 different locations. At Gas Mart, a cup of coffee costs $1. Not bad, a buck of coffee. Okay. At the Perfect Coffee Company, a cup of coffee is $3. I can buy a kilo of coffee for 10 euros, which is about $11, $11.50. for 2.2 pounds, which lasts me 2 months for $10. That's 3 cups of the expensive and 1 cup of the cheap. Think about that. Because of cost, she tries to alternate during the month. Construct a budget line graph that shows the different combinations of the 2 coffee purchase options that would allow her to stay within her budget. Then suppose she has to decrease her coffee budget by 20%. Identify the graph of the new budget line. Okay. So what we're going to do here is, and if you have your book, you're obviously going to be able to see this, but what they're saying is the cost of coffee is C sub X. The cost of coffee from the expensive place is C sub Y. So Gas Mart is going to be my X, and the Perfect Coffee Company is going to be my Y. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to take the cost of coffee from the Gas Mart times the number of cups plus the cost of coffee from the Perfect Coffee Company times the number of cups from there. And that has to equal our budget B like so. So there's our formula. Now we're going to substitute the givens. Well, how much does a cup of coffee cost at Gas Mart? It's $1. So it's just going to be X, not 1X. 1 times X is X. I don't like putting a 1 as a coefficient, so I just put X. CY, the cost of coffee at the Perfect Coffee Company is $3. So it would be $3 times the number of cups you bought there. And our budget is $90. So if I want to graph this, I want to solve for Y. So I subtract X. Now we're getting back to Algebra 1. And we get 3Y equals negative X plus 90. I'm going to now divide by 3 to get Y by itself. And what you do to one side, you have to do to the other. And so I get negative 1/3 X plus 30. So there is my formula for how much coffee I can spend. Y equals negative 1/3 X plus 30. I'm not going to use my spreadsheet for this. I'm going to now use what's called Desmos. Desmos is a graphing calculator you can use, or you could use Algebra. There's others, but I'm going to click graphing calculator. Okay, give it a minute. Now I forgot my equation. It's going to be Y equals negative 1/3 X, X plus, was it 30? And hit enter. So I saw a red line there, but then it disappeared. Well, my y-intercept is 30, and this is only going up to 6. So we need to zoom out and pan down. So obviously I can bring it all the way over so the origin's down here, because we're not going to ever pay negative dollars for coffee, and we're never going to get negative cups of coffee. So we're going to be in the first quadrant. So we need to zoom out a little more, and there it is. Okay, I can't see the whole thing. I want to know where the X and Y intercepts are. So there they are. So hopefully you can see that on the video, just like so. So there's my Y-intercept here, and here's my Y-intercept here. So now if I plot a point right there, how do I put a point? Let's see. Desmos is a little different, but anyway, if I click here, that is the point 0, 30. What that means is the x-axis is coffee at the Gas Mart. The y-axis is the coffee at the Perfect Coffee place. All right. So this here says she bought 0 cups of coffee from the Coffee Mart, the gas station, and 30 cups at the expensive place. So $0 at the coffee gas station, and 30 times $3 a cup is $90, which is her budget. So if we're on this red line, we're on budget. We spent the entire budget. If I click over here, 90, 0 means she bought 90 cups of coffee at the gas station and none at the other place. 90 times 1 is 90, 0 times 3 is 0, 90 plus 0 is 90, $90. Any combination of coffee you can think of is on here, as long as it's an integer. You can't buy a half a cup of coffee and So I'm looking for corners. There's an integer here. So if I click right there, it's 18.24. Okay, so that means she bought 18 cups of coffee at the gas station for $18 and 24 cups of coffee at the coffee mart for $3 a piece, which would be $72. 72 plus 18 is 90. So that's how this works. Okay, here for an integer, try to get it an integer, no decimals, right there. 30 cups of coffee at the gas station, 20 cups of coffee at the Perfect Perk, whatever it was called, will give you 90 bucks. So if you picked a value down here, what does that mean? Well, you bought less cups of coffee than your budget allows, so you were under budget. Anything over here, you broke the budget and you're spending money that has to go elsewhere on coffee. All right, anyhow. Then let's go back, and now it says, then suppose she had to decrease her coffee budget by 20%. So now we need to do that. So it's still going to be y equals negative 1/3 x, but now this 90 is going to decrease by 20%. Now our budget's not 90, it's 80% of 90, which is 72. And 72 divided by 3 is 27. So now my equation is 27, not 30. Actually, that's not right. I want to take, and my budget is going to be 80% of 30. 8.8 times 30 is 24. Okay, I just had to think about that a second. Okay, so I want negative 1/3 x plus 24 in my Desmos. So it's going to be very similar. I'm going to write y equals negative 1/3 x plus 24. So that means that 24 cups of coffee at the expensive place, 24 times 3 is 72, $0 in the other cup. And over here, you can also see that it's $72 for 72 cups of $1 coffees at the gas station. And now what we have done is we've lowered this. So it was a shift down because our constant decreased. The book says shift down and left. That is not right. Shifting left means that you would have a plus something inside parentheses. This is a shift down. Okay. So anything under here is in the budget. Anything on the blue line is on her entire budget is spent, and anything above will be breaking that budget. Okay, so that is the end of lesson 11.3. All right, have a good day.